When LeBron James signed with the LA Lakers in the summer of 2018 after having gone to his 8th consecutive finals appearance, the thought was that this was going to be the next big franchise-altering move that would bring this team back to relevancy after having missed the playoffs for 5 straight seasons following the end of the Kobe Bryant era. And despite the Lakers acquiring a lot of young talent by way of the draft during all those bad years, their draft prospects weren't really developing as quickly as they had hoped. Lonzo Ball got off to a slow start, had his own struggles with injuries. Brandon Ingram just didn't seem like he was ready for the physicality of the NBA coming into the league. D'Angelo Russell was nice, but a very inconsistent player that was getting cooked on defense, and every team knew to go at him for an easy drive to the basket. Something needed to change, and just when it looked like the glamour, the allure of the LA Lakers and bringing in the biggest and best stars of the game, all of that was over. Newly hired GM, though, Magic Johnson, was able to pry away LeBron James from his home state and come to LA, although I think we all know LeBron was wanting to come to LA anyway, so it wasn't necessarily a groundbreaking feat that was near impossible to pull off. But with LeBron James coming to LA, the expectation was now that this franchise was back on the map, back in the running to contend once again and add more banners to their lineup in the rafters. But things didn't really go as planned. As in that first season with LeBron in LA, the Lakers failed to make the playoffs, and they knew they had to add another big-time star to the roster, one who was disgruntled and wanting out of his own team, and that was, of course, Anthony Davis. Davis, with his dominance on both ends of the floor, would be just the catalyst the Lakers would need to complement LeBron James, and sure enough, they would go on to secure that coveted title, albeit a title won in the bubble. The Lakers would offer AD a max extension after winning the chip, and of course, after some up and down years plagued with a lot of injuries, we just get word that the Lakers have extended Anthony Davis for an additional 3 seasons for $186 million, where they will now be paying him through 2028 when he will be 35 years old. But despite this extension, and I'll give my thoughts on the extension as well, it's hard to see much of a future for this team beyond LeBron James. All good things must come to an end eventually, and that will be the case for the Lakers this season as they try to fight for one last chance at an NBA title with this crew, a chance to secure their 18th trophy, the most in NBA history. Of course, if you're new to the channel and you enjoy this type of content, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. About 68% of you watching are not subscribed, so I'd greatly appreciate it to help the channel grow, and in return, I'll be providing more NBA content like this. Now, when the Lakers completely turned their season around last year after making significant moves at the trade deadline, going from being a team that was on the cusp of missing the play-in to then closing out the season strong, finishing 7th in the West, and would go on to make it to the Western Conference Finals. Going from potentially missing the play-in, based on where they were positioned in February, to the conference finals. I know they got beat badly in that series, getting swept by the Nuggets, but the fact that the Lakers, based on where they were and going to the conference finals, is impressive to say the least. But it's not a championship, and we all know that's what LeBron wants most. He himself said it in his end-of-season presser. He doesn't get a kick out of making a conference finals appearance. He's done that a lot before, and he wants another championship. Now, the good thing for the Lakers is that they have actually positioned themselves well to still be competitive going into this season to potentially be a title contending team. I say potentially because you never know what might happen as it relates to injuries. Anthony Davis has always struggled staying healthy. LeBron James is going to be turning 39 this season, so who knows how long he'll be able to hold up. But based on the construction of their roster, the fact they were able to retain most of their free agents, their best free agents, not all, but the ones that were critical to the success in their team last year, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, in my view, they picked up a solid player also on a good contract in Gabe Vincent. Jackson Hayes, I can get behind the signing because it was so cheap and they needed size. So they're going to be a good team this upcoming year, assuming they stay healthy. But the issue for the Lakers is, despite the contract extension for Anthony Davis and locking him up for 3 more seasons and no longer having to worry about him declining his player option on the final year of his deal, especially with the likelihood of LeBron leaving, despite that, this is the last chance for them to win a title. This is the last dance, if you will. And the reason for that is really twofold. One, LeBron has already said he's going to play wherever his son is drafted, which the Lakers don't have a first or second round draft pick in this upcoming draft in 2024. Now, that can always change. The Lakers could trade their way into the draft or even just straight up trade with whoever ends up drafting Bronny, but it's more than likely that this is going to be LeBron's last year in LA. And then he'll play one final season wherever his son is at before he calls it quits and retires. But let's say for a moment, somehow the Lakers are able to get Bronny by making a trade, likely having to give up a fair amount of assets to pry Bronny away from whatever team drafts him. Thus, LeBron stays, he picks up his player option worth $51.4 million, which is crazy. He'll be making that kind of money about to turn 40 years old. Even if you get Bronny, you keep LeBron, he's still going to be going into his 22nd season in the NBA by then. 40 years old, so much mileage on his belt. And yes, I know we always talk about how LeBron is superhuman and never seems to decline. By then, there is no way he's going to be the same player we once knew. He'll likely still be a great player, but he's not going to be playing at an elite level that the Lakers would need from him to actually win a championship. So that's one piece for why this is the Lakers' last chance at winning a title with this crew. LeBron is either most likely leaving, will sign a min deal with whatever team drafts Bronny, or if the Lakers get Bronny, LeBron is just not going to be the same level of player that they would need him to be to win a championship. And please don't say, well, if they get Bronny now, that's obviously a game changer. No, Bronny as a rookie who isn't as highly touted as a prospect as his dad was is not going to instantly be a factor in leading this team to winning a championship right out the gate. And honestly, the other thing we haven't really talked about is how Bronny's cardiac arrest is going to affect his career going forward. Very rare for a person as young as he is to suffer cardiac arrest, and it could then be a genetic issue that will carry with him for the rest of his life. But we don't know the whole story or background on that. I'm not a doctor, so we're not going to speculate on that, and we'll assume Bronny is just going to recover nicely. I hope so anyway. And he's going to be the player that he was expected to be in that middle to late first round draft level prospect. But the other piece that probably isn't talked about as much as it relates to this contract extension is Anthony Davis as a player. Say what you will about Davis. Can't stay healthy, is too soft at times, his shot has fallen off, he's not a number one option on a title team. The Lakers still need him. This team would go nowhere without Anthony Davis. We've seen what happens to this team when he's not available. They missed the playoffs that first season with LeBron before they traded for AD. AD comes to LA, is the healthiest he's ever been. They win a championship. He's then in and out of the lineup the following 2 seasons, especially the season before last and the Lakers missed the play-in. He's healthy for the most part in this recent year where they made it to the playoffs and they go to the conference finals. He has his flaws, but he's one of the better players in the league when healthy. But be all of that as it may, and again, this is just my opinion, like everything I share on this channel, I personally don't think that Anthony Davis likes being in that type of role. He actually doesn't do very well under pressure and being the number one option on a team, especially in clutch moments. I think he prefers to be that 1B option to relieve some of the pressure on himself. And when LeBron leaves, because it will eventually happen, the dude can't play forever, AD is going to be the new face of the franchise in one of the biggest markets in the NBA on one of the highest salaries. And look, as it relates to this extension, I know some people are going to call it an overpay, but when healthy, Davis is actually worth the money when you factor in just how impactful he is on both ends of the floor and currently in his prime. The problem though, or the key phrase I should say, is when healthy, is what makes this an overpay and likely a contract extension the Lakers are going to regret over time. Because if Anthony Davis can't stay healthy now, how do you think his body is going to hold up when he's going into his mid-30s and has over 750 games under his belt? You now have a fairly injury-prone player, who is a great player when he's healthy, but an injury-prone player locked up on the wrong side of 30 for the next 5 seasons. And I get it. You kind of had to do it when you factor in that this is likely going to be the last good year of LeBron before he goes and plays with Bronny. You traded and gave up a lot to get Anthony Davis in the form of multiple first-round picks and young players like Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart. But in going for one last all-in push to try to win one more title with LeBron James, to re-sign Anthony Davis for this long, in order to do it, I think is going to come back to bite them when Anthony Davis is sitting on the sideline later on eating up the bulk of their cap sheet and they have little room to work with in adding meaningful talent, especially now with the other contracts they have on the books in Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and D'Angelo Russell. I like that they were able to re-sign those guys, and the contract for Reeves I think was decent value for them, but Hachimura was on a pretty sizable deal, as is D'Angelo Russell. And so when you look at this upcoming season for the Lakers, the roster they have, and knowing the implications of the upcoming contract decision for LeBron James, knowing that LeBron also isn't getting any younger, knowing that Anthony Davis, same thing, is not getting any younger, and knowing that the Lakers have also mortgaged a fair amount of their future by trading a lot of draft picks to acquire Anthony Davis and later D'Angelo Russell, and you see why this is the Lakers' last chance to win a title. Looking at the roster, beyond LeBron James after he retires or leaves the team, an aging Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, who knows if they'll be able to keep Jared Vanderbilt. I can see additional trades being made, whether in the next couple of months before the season starts or at the deadline based on what their overall needs are. But after this season, that's still a good team, but it by no means is a title contending team. I like Anthony Davis, but I just don't think he's that guy that you can have as your face of the franchise and your number one option that you build around, especially with him on the wrong side of 30. Would be different if he was 25 years old. But I would love to hear what you guys think. Do you think this is the Lakers' last dance? Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.